अभी रुक जा तो चैट कर देख लूँ, ये लोग चैट कर करके भेज रहे हैं, कैसे भेज रहे हैं। यू टर्न ऑन योर कॉल। अच्छा इस पे ऑन हो गई है फेसबुक पे। Those who are not able to join on Google Meet, please join on Facebook. ऐसे लाउड पेपर उल्टा लग करता। Watch an app. Starting start हो गई। लाउड में क्या करूँ? वो आ रहा है ना। डी पता नहीं क्या है, मैं करते हैं कुछ। सही दवा लेना।
Watch map कर लो।
अरे भगवान, इसकी ऐप डाउनलोड करनी पड़ेगी। ये चाहिए। कोड कहाँ से आएगा इसमें?
Good morning to all of you. With spring in my step, curiosity in mind, and anticipation in heart, I, Ritu Sharma, on behalf of Maharishi Markandeshwar, deemed to be University Molana, extend a very warm welcome to all of you. Today we have gathered here on the inaugural ceremony of International Research Orientation Program organized by Maharishi Markandeshwar Institute of Computer Technology and Business Management, MMDU Molana. It gives me immense pleasure to announce that we are having more than 1,500 participants from 20 different countries, including India, Bangladesh, Egypt, Ethiopia, Ghana, Indonesia, Iraq, KSA, Libya, Malaysia, Mauritius, Morocco, Nepal, Nigeria, Pakistan, Sultanate of Oman, Philippines, Saudi Arabia, Sri Lanka, and Ukraine. The focus of this program is to understand the nature of research, its inherent weaknesses, and how to overcome them. Therefore, it is necessary for the researchers to continuously update their investigation skills in terms of methodology and find new techniques to better carry out studies in their respective areas of research. Without taking much of your time, I would like to call upon Dr. Sumit Mittal, Principal, MMICT and BM Molana, to give a glimpse of the program. Sir, please.
A very good morning and greetings to one and all. Respected Professor Harish Kumar Sharma, Pro Vice Chancellor, MM deemed to be University Mulana, distinguished directors, principals, deans, faculty members, and research scholars from more than 800 institutions across the globe. It gives me immense pleasure to grace all of your presence in the inaugural ceremony of 1 week International Research Orientation Program in association with Elsewhere India. I, Dr. Sumit Mittal, on the behalf of entire university, extend you a hearty welcome for this program. The gamut of more than 1,500 young researchers who are present here from the renowned institutions of the world. For them, the word research needs no introduction. In the words of Terry Friedman, research can shed light on issues we didn't even know existed and can raise questions we had not realized even needed asking. The purpose of doing research is to achieve strong credibility in the specific area and make learning a lifelong endeavor. In the era of technical advancement, research should be defined as specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and feasible. Creating a balance between individual work and collaborative work should be the main goal of a quality research, and here, through this orientation program, we are trying to fill this gap. The objective of this program is to promote research and to improve research awareness and its outcomes. Each topic of this program has been chosen keeping in mind the interest of young researchers, like identification of research problem, objectives, literature analysis, publication in indexed journals, finding funding agencies, innovative research, and acceptability of outcome of the research in terms of offering consultancy services to industries. I am grateful to the eminent personalities who will enlighten us through their knowledge, experience and expertise in the field of research during this 6 days orientation program. Well, I don't want to take too much of your time. It's time to take a hard look at what we are going to do in the upcoming days. I ensure that this research orientation program will be profitable and fruitful for everyone present here. The various sessions planned for the next few days will reveal the amazing knowledge in the field of research. Thanks and all.
Thank you, sir. We feel honored to have with us Dr. Harish Sharma, Honorable Pro Vice Chancellor of Maharishi Markandeshwar, deemed to be University Molana, as chief guest of the inaugural ceremony. Now I request Dr. Harish Sharma to say a few words to our participants. Sir, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Very good morning to everyone. Am I audible?
Yes,
Dr.
audible.
Will you confirm? Am I audible? Yep.
Yes.
Thank you. Well, it is really very heartening to note that nearly 1,500 participants from about 800 institutions have registered for this program, and which include participants from nearly 20 countries. So at the outset, I would like to congratulate the team of organizers, especially Professor Mittal, for taking this initiative. Well, the theme of the program is also very apt. It is very important to orient the faculty of any institution towards research, because the overall research output of the institution, or for that matter, even the country, is directly related to the research-oriented faculty. Well, in India, the things have changed a lot in last about 10 years. I think till 2009, no one mentioned about Scopus or Web of Sciences. I could see that some of the professors in state universities even would retire even without having a single international publication. At that time, the question which was normally asked in the UGC visits or AICT visits were that how many publications the institution is having, and it was how many national and how many international. I mentioned it was first time in 2009, suppose that the question was asked that how many publications are indexed in Scopus journals. And then after that, the questions have changed. Now, later on, it was asked about the Web of Sciences journals, the impact factor of the journal, even the citations, the H index. And now the questions are being asked about the patents filed, published, and then awarded, earned out of the patent. So the things are evolving. It is very heartening to note that. And even the accreditation agencies or the rating agencies are giving a very good weightage to the research output of the institution. About 20 to 25% weightage is given in NAC or NIRF, or even for that matter in the international accreditation rating agencies like QS or Times Higher Education. And a very important parameter is number of publications per teacher, and then number of citations per publication. So which definitely boils down to the individual participation in the university or the institution. So that's why I said that it is very important to orient the faculty towards research, because the institution cannot go up in ranking or the ratings or the accreditation till everyone in the faculty is participating. So if we just look at the SJR country rank, USA stands at number 1. I was just going through the data in the morning. USA has around 1 crore 28 lakh documents published during this 1996 to 2019, with around 34 crore citations. And if you see the citations per document, it is around 26.42, and H index of the country is 2386. India stands at 9th rank with total documents around 18 lakh 73,000 in the same range, same period 1996 to 2019, with around 18 lakh citations. So the number of citations per publication, I think there is something wrong. Overall citations per document is 9.74, and the H index of the country stands at 624. Now, if you compare USA and India as such, this is a gap of around say 20 times or so. But more importantly, if you consider the research output per capita, I think India will not stand at 9th rank. According to the data which is available on ResearchGate, in that context, even USA does not stand at rank 1. The countries like Switzerland, Sweden, Denmark, I think they are doing better. And it is obvious because they are having low population. But it's very important that more number of persons get involved in the research. Now, based on this discussion, I would just like to give my thoughts about what should be our strategy if I'm talking about the faculty members. This I have been discussing with our teachers also, that if you do any research, it's very important to ask yourself this question, whether the work which I have done is patentable. So if it is patentable, definitely go for filing a patent first before you go for the publication. And then the next step should be the selection of the journal. Now, with the advancement of the technology, you can do these things online, or you can ask your seniors also, or you can see what your fellow colleagues are doing, where are they publishing their research. So it is very important to select the right journal also. And as we have mentioned, that now it's very important to have a journal which is indexed in Scopus or Web of Sciences or in medical, say PubMed. And even if you are deciding to go for some conference, please see that the proceedings which are going to be out should be indexed again with Scopus or Web of Sciences. Next, it is very important for the upcoming institutions and for the young faculties is to collaborate. I attended one of the sessions by Scopus, and it was emphasized that if you have the publication which is having authors from different institutions, the chances of having more citations will increase. So my advice again here will be to go for a collaborative research initially. Then this was regarding only the publications, but if you talk about the overall research output of the institution, then the other factors are also important, like the number of research projects which you are having. So I understand that in private institutions, it becomes a bit difficult to get grant from the government funding agencies. But now NAC or NIRF are considering the funding from the non-government agencies also. So if you can talk to some industries or some non-government organizations to fund your research, that will be great. So keeping this in mind, after definitely you focus on your publications, it is very important to have more research scholars, and then some projects also. These may be even some minor projects. Don't aim for the moon directly. You can have small projects initially, and that will give you the confidence and ultimately help you in getting bigger projects even from the common funding agencies. So the key is to start from somewhere. Now, I understand that some of the deans, directors of various institutions are also attending this program. So I want to give a few of my thoughts about what needs to be done at the institution level or the university level also. The first and the foremost is to have a research promotion policy. And maybe if we can introduce some research awards to motivate the faculty members who are involved in research. And then it's very important to have some seed money for young researchers so that they can start with something at least with the institution funding. Then, as I mentioned, you can have more PhD scholars, and better will be that if they are offered some fellowships also by the university, so that they need not worry about the you can say basic expenses at least. Then the faculty members should be allowed to attend or participate in the international conferences, at least which are indexed in these Scopus or Web of Sciences or even any agency, PubMed also, which is recognized by these regulatory bodies. I'm really happy to note that the organizers have been able to rope in very good speakers for this program, which include the people from UK or USA, or you have a person from Elsevier also, then from IITs. So again, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate the organizers for taking this initiative. I extend my best wishes for the success of the program, and I hope that all the participants, they get benefited from the deliberations over the next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening us. Wishing all of you a great time here with us. I would like to call Ms. Nitika for further proceedings of the program. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Wisdom is not a product of schooling,
but of a lifelong attempt to acquire it. A very warm welcome to all of you. I, Nitika Arora, will going to along with you all as a moderator through this session. So let's just get started with today's agenda. Talking about research, stating your research aim, research objective, its outcomes are the most important part of our research. So, it is the key to understand what we actually want to deliver and what is actually expected from us through our research. Research by its nature is a critical challenging task requires in-depth knowledge of the subject matter, planning, care and hard work. I think while writing a qualitative research, the first question that comes in our mind is referring to the basic steps or issues to be considered when selection a research topic which is synonymous with the research problem. The study explored various and common challenges, difficulties during writing the research proposal, such as difficulty in deciding the topic for research, lack of good knowledge of the methodology, inability of finding modern, specialized, and related references, lack of interest in research, lack of understanding of the subject matter, lack of time, and research guiding. As we all know, we face a dilemma to choose an appropriate aim and work in a right direction which could meet the expectations of our society. Unfortunately, there is no universal recipe that can guide us to write a research properly. But yeah, to bridge our gaps, we have Mr. Vijay Kumar Thakur among us today, who is one of the best person I can say to guide us in this field. So please give me an opportunity to introduce Mr. Vijay Kumar Thakur. Dr. Vijay Kumar Thakur is a professor and head of the Biorefining and Advanced Materials Research Centre at Scotland Rural College, Edinburgh, United Kingdom, and also holds visiting professor position at Cranfield University, United Kingdom, an adjunct professor position in the Research School of Polymeric Materials, Jiangsu University, China, and visiting professor at Shiv Nadar University, India. He has previously held faculty position at Cranfield University, United Kingdom, Washington State University, United States, and Nanyang University, Singapore. His research activities span the disciplines of biorefining, biomaterials, chemistry, manufacturing material and science, and nanotechnology, as well as all aspects of advanced and sustainable materials. He has published over 200 essay journal articles in which he has HI index of 69 and citations were over 14,000. He has published 50 books, 40 book chapters, and holds 2 US patents. He also sits on the editorial board of over 20 essay journals as associate editor, editorial advisory board member. So I request Dr. Vijay Kumar Thakur to enlighten us over it. Over to you, sir. Kindly enlighten us, sir. I think there is a network issues with the Vijay Kumar Thakur, sir. Please give me some time. Participants, Sir has joined with us. He'll be enlighten us within 2 minutes. Thank you, participants. Further, there is an announcement for you all. If you find any problem or query, you can post in the chat. Sir, Mr. Vijay Kumar Thakur will take your queries after his session. Thank you.
हाँ अब कर दिया, चलो हाँ, ये कर दिया। हम्म। अब हाँ on कर दिया, पर वीडियो भेज दिया। अच्छा प्रोजेक्ट ओके ओके ओके।
I request Dr. Vijay Kumar Thakur to please enlighten us. Over to you, sir.
Hello. Hello. Hi, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir. All set, sir.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. And I'm so sorry for this technical hiccup. So it seems like sometimes technology kills. So I would like to start by uh, saying my sincere thanks to Professor Ades and Dr. Mittal for giving me the opportunity to talk about this new, how you say, very interesting topic, starting your research. And thanks again for the organizer for arranging this wonderful event and the introduction. My name is Vijay, and I am professor at RUC. I am also heading this newly established Biorefining and Advanced Research Center. So I'm sure most of you might not have heard about SRUC. So I did not heard until I applied. So I will give you a brief introduction about SRUC. SRUC is a premier agriculture and battery institute that sits within the University of Edinburgh. Uh, it does not have really any science or engineering department as well. How you say that are particularly focused on typical research related to engineering or material science, but it is highly multidisciplinary in the sense that we work very closely with colleagues from different disciplines. So, also according to the latest ranking of this Times Higher Education, SRUC has been ranked among top 50 university in the UK, as well as it has been able to come up in top 500 university in the world. And it is, I think, only institute that has been able to do so in just 8 years of establishment. And in terms of research, the research is carried out in close collaboration with the industry. This year we have been ranked number one in UK for industrial income generated through SME, small and medium industries, followed by school and Edinburgh. institutes. I do hold my current links with the Cranfield, where I was most recently until March. Cranfield is an exclusively postgraduate only university in UK. We don't have any affiliate program. We are only focusing on aerospace, manufacturing, and transport as well as management. And one of the pioneer or you can say trademark center is Defense Acquisition Center at Cranfield, and we always provide training to lot of scientists all over the world, especially from different army units and Indian government also sends a lot of in DRDO scientists every year for training at Cranfield. So a little bit overview of my research. Over the past 15 years, my research has been focused on the core theme of synthesis and manufacturing of materials for the future. We have been studying different types of materials, starting from micro and nanoscale to macro scale. We have been working on development of OCT e-polymer and composite for aerospace applications, where sometimes we really don't want your materials to expand at high temperature. Then we have been testing different types of functional materials for energy storage as well as defense applications, especially bulletproof vest. Then using new advanced polymeric system reinforced by cellulosic nanomaterial for wind turbine blades that are a key source of energy in Western world, especially where there is significant thrust on renewable energy. Then one area we are interested and looking into is recycling, how we can recycle different type of agriculture, industrial and plastic waste. Another important area we are working on hydrogel and membrane for water treatment and biobattery application. And in this field, I am working very closely with Professor Ades and Dr. Samarjit, who has recently joined your institute. Then obviously bio-based coating and natural polymers, they are current area of trust, especially in this pandemic, where there are reports that this pandemic spreads from surfaces and so on. So we are also looking into bio-based coatings. And the particular research we are driving at SRUC is in three pillars, mainly sustainable materials, where we are making use of different type of natural materials, starting from precursor to end user application. Then self-healing, learning from nature, we are trying to mimic nature's most inspired properties and trying to re-engineer them so that we can work with materials. And obviously, we are using two advanced manufacturing techniques to come up with new materials and design, and we are primarily focusing on additive manufacturing, nano manufacturing, and biomanufacturing, so that we can come up with new functional materials. And in today's talk, I will be talking mainly about how to carry out research. So the information in this presentation is mainly taken from different type of sources, especially in Google. And then I have just compiled my experience. So I will be talking about my experience, how we can do research, although I'm not expert and I don't think myself as a expert, but how to say, Professor Ade forced me to give this talk. So here I am morning, 5:30 in UK to deliver this. So if we talk from how we learn from civilization, our civilization started from Stone Age, Bronze Age, iron in the age of silk, or you can say polymer, and they are almost embedded in any material. If you see my screen at the end, we are sitting here on a computer. So human being continuously being involved. Every time we start to learn, we learn from nature, we learn from each other, we learn from new hypotheses, we learn from new discovery. And similarly, research. And research, I think the first word of research itself is acronym for number of words. And to me personally, research means reason. You have a reason for everything you are doing every day in your lab or in any discipline, whether it is arts, engineering, or science. So there should be a reason. If you are in research for whatever you are carrying out, step, whether it is precise or macro, at any level, there should be a specific reason. There should be a reason. You must come up something that you can say that, okay, I have done this stuff, and how it is carried out. For this, there is only one way, that is read, read, read. Because for research, you must have ideas. Ideas like your own. You learn from another people's work, try to replicate those with some new additions. So for research, you must read a lot. And then obviously, when you are carrying out research, you have to present it to another people, or even if you want to tell your colleague, your mentor, your student, or anyone, you must write it, right? Then you must have to writing skill, because it is very important to present yourself in a cohesive manner. So over the next 1 year, we will be discussing about how we can improve our skill, writing skill, what are the precautions we must take care while writing a good article, good thesis, good report, depending upon whether you are a undergraduate student, you are a master student, PhD student, postdoc, or you are a professor, or you are a completely recruited scientist, and so on. So, what research really means? Research and science are almost same thing. If I remember correctly, we used to study that science is systematic knowledge obtained through observation and verification. And research is just one step ahead of science, that it is systematic assembly, analysis, and interpretation of data to answer a certain question or solve a problem. Again, it depends on the discipline and subject you are tackling. And to carry out an effective research, it is most crucial, or you can say necessary and sufficient conditions, that you must follow some crucial scientific steps so that you can conduct a well research. So, in a nutshell, if we want to summarize different steps in scientific research, so scientific research begins with the selection of area, mean in which direction we want to work. Like, for example, we take a typical example of Indian education system. After our metric standard, we are advised to go into three different directions. Either we choose humanities subject, so-called arts, or we go to science, that can be medical science or non-medical, or we go to commerce. So it depends on individual interest, which area he or she wants to go. Then he selects a topic, which particular subject or topic, or a, you can say, content you are more interested. Then there is always a research question, because for research there should always be a question for which there is no readily available answer. So one must, for that answer, once you have a question, then that gives a little bit direction to you, that okay, I can carry out this direction. And then we look to literature. Sometime in literature you found the answer, and no need for your search is done. Or you don't have the answer, then you again go back to your view question, you refine it in a more precise way, and again you follow the step, that you go for literature view, or no study, or if no answer, then you go for a more in-depth analysis. Then comes hypothesis, goals, and objectives. These are more direction that must be followed carrying out any type of research. It is something like, I am from Himachal, so if I have Delhi, I must choose the way, whether I'm going here or from, what is the traffic route I'm taking, I'm going by bus, train, or plane. So this is something related to search hypothesis, goals, and objectives. So you must decide where you are planning to go. And obviously, for starting, you must have to address some design and important is issue, whether it is related to carrying out an experiment. We will discuss about this while and also about publishing. That's another type of ethical issues, but ethical issues start from designing your experiment until your publication. And obviously, depending on research strategy or discipline, you go for population sampling, and also there are always issues related to biasness, biasness whether it's about funding, whether it is about publication or anything. So you all will always face bias. There is nothing you can do because most of the things they are anonymous. So you can try your app. Then very research tools for carrying out any research, you must have appropriate research facility. You cannot just imagine something and just starting it now because you must have a particular uh, timeline that must be met to carry out research. Then you just carry out pilot study, you plan your experiment, you work in such a way that gives you enough time to uh, have a roadmap for your whole study, depending on the project duration or course and collection of data. That is very important because during the course of your experiments or design, you have a lot of data and you must manage it in a very cohesive manner because there are instances where sometimes you have published a paper 5 years back and then someone may come that okay this data might not be good or they want to have a look at it. So you uh, manage your data. So at least you should have your data in PDF, that's one in your lab book and two in your soft copy. And then interpretation is very important because sometimes we interpret the result in a very different way and then review obviously will change you have interpreted in a wrong way. And reporting, that is most important for especially higher degree at the level of PhD or master, where you really want people to know about your work. So selection of area. So how to select a research area? It generally depends on individual priority, or you can say one's interest. Especially, it may someone may have a specialty in a particular direction. He or she wants to do carry out research in that direction. Then obviously interest is very important because if you are working on something that does not interest you, mean you will not put your wholehearted efforts in that direction. And research is such a, how you say, fascinating and also fascinating field that if you don't have interest, then you may end up being lost anywhere. And then your background also matters. You are in art or engineering, and in today's academic world or the research field, I think all these three disciplines are combining together. If I talk the use of arts or how you can say humanities subject, these days there is a term called circular economy. So all the proposal, if I talk about engineering or more of like material science or biomaterials, we are always looking to circular concept of materials so that we can ensure the funders or the reviewers that we are taking good care of the whole life cycle where currently in most of the how you say countries, especially US and European world, there is a mission of net zero emission. Mean should not have any such how you say uh, evaluation different type of toxic elements or materials during your metal processing and so on. Then again, another is your experience. Depending on one's experience, one can choose a particular field it does not need to count your age and so on. If you have experience in a particular field, you would obviously like to explore that for your future work. And one of the example is last year I examined one master student who was CEO of a company in UK, and to my surprise, he was 58 years old, and he came to do masters in electrochemical investor because he thought that it is a very interesting field and he would just want to enrich his knowledge. So, depending on your interest, you can carry it out any direction. And one of the most important topic for doing research is you must know the actual need for research in that area. It is not that you pick up one topic, you can start that. Because in today's competitive world, one must know where that can be beneficial, how you can address some of the gaps in the field, or you can come up with technology, although science may be well defined, that you make it more easily available to a number of people. For example, we take the example of manufacturing. If we manufacture different type of biomaterials or biomaterials, we generally use traditional technique, but now there is a technique called additive manufacturing, where you can design type of complex material starting from biomedical, your hearts, your lungs, or so on to aerospace material. That is the technique. So that means you should look into subject, it should not be science or should not be English, it may be combination of different techniques. And obviously, before starting, you must look into what are the level, what are the fundamentals that might be interested in your work. And I understand that in this course you will be having separate lecture, but not so much detail, but I will give a overview of these things in this lecture. So prior to starting, you must have brainstorming strategy, list the topics you are interested in, then mean you should know where they are being used, where you can here obtain successful undergrad research program or PhD or so on. Then you write in a very free way, right? Okay, if I go to this direction, how I do. And most important is you should also look into collaborations because research these days highly multidisciplinary. You cannot alone solve the world problem. So you must look for collaborators. Those are having complementary expertise to you, or those who can provide you with proper mentorship, or those who can offer you some facilities, or so on. So collaboration is really very important, and it is you can consider it something like marriage. So once you want to choose a collaborator, you should be very careful because uh, starting collaboration is really very high important and risky. Sometimes you may end up collaborating with wrong people, then it is a little difficult to stop the collaboration. Also, you can enrich from collaborating with good people. So collaboration is always, how you say, based on mutual collaboration, and it is based on friendship. That is very important because then you don't face these issues, but someone understand your strength or weakness. So collaboration is always not like 50-50 that okay, I'm doing 50% work, one is doing 50% work. It can be either way. It can be 60-40, 80-20, or so on. But collaboration is very important to carry out such effective research or to ensure a practical application because no one has really all type of expertise and in today's global world there are different types of problems that must be addressed by the team rather than an individual alone, and especially when there are those deadlines or somewhere you need to come up with a lot of challenging issues. For example, in today's this COVID era, we need to tackle a lot of issues. So in this case, there are scientists, engineers, and a lot of
Excuse
people
me,
in
sir.
India joining forces together because for
Excuse me,
me
sir.
is very important.
Sir, I'm sorry I'm interrupting you. Sir, your voice is breaking, I guess.
I'm not. I think that might be a problem. I'm not listening my voice,
So
and
it's breaking.
I have not been to your system because of that. So can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Yes, it is audible now, but somewhere it is breaking.
I think might be some internet problem, or I'm not sure how it's coming. So maybe you can tell me whenever there are some problems, I can stop for a while and see whether there are some internet issues or it's just the internal system.
Yes, sir. Maybe it's a network issues. Yes, sir. Sir, please continue. We are audible.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. And coming to again topic selection, that is really very important. You must know what is the research gap, uh, why you want to do, what type of work you want to do, when you want to do. Like I told the example, someone at the age of 50 years came to do the research because he was thinking that this capacity and batteries are going to be very important. And the most important question is why you want to do. And when once you have selected this topic, you must identify some subtopics because research itself is a very broad area. And one thing I always say is like before choosing your topic, you must choose your supervisor. And before researching your topic, you must search your supervisor because your supervisor is your mentor or path showing person who can really nurture you into a good researcher. So you really know your supervisor very well, research interest, because if there is a mismatch between either your research interest or your supervisor research interest, the end outcome will really not be very pleasant because suppose there is a student who is interested in particular topic, works hard, but his supervisor is in a very different direction, then obviously the supervisor may not be very interested in that topic, or if he is interested, he may not put his efforts to what the students are expected. And same thing is with the supervisor. So whenever you are looking at the topic and then coming to a particular topic, or you can say title of study, it must be based upon mutual agreement because supervisor knows better where are the application of your work, where you can have good career. Being a friend, you can think that everything is so beautiful, but everything is not beautiful. So it is the supervisor who tells everything or who provide light and dark, and then again to provide of your topic depends on the field you are working. For example, say Professor is working a lot biomedical material, then obviously you would like to choose a problem that has impact on health. But there are a lot of several issues you need to consider, like magnitude, seriousness, preventability, durability, then available prevention, what extra steps or direction you may to take or propose solution. There can be different types of solution. You need to choose one that is important and obviously more cost effective. For example, recently together Cambridge University Hospital, we have today bio-based adhesive for hernia fixation. So currently use adhesive, they are having very high cost, and for a medical surgeon, almost from 30 minutes, 1 hour carrying out an operation. And together having discussed the medical subject, is me and my mentor, Grenfell, we came up with a system, and main concern was cost effectiveness because it takes almost 200 pounds for carrying out such a minor operation. Then obviously time, that is very important for surgeon because all over the ratio of medical to population is very less. So obviously you have to save the time. There are a lot of things in the research you must consider, and I should not say that these are necessary, but the most important is your cost effectiveness, feasibility, and how close it is to the industrialization that you can have a direct impact on common public. And if I come from technical expansion perspective, there are variation of research can look into more detail in Google, but a very common statement of the problem is that it should be a area of concern where there is a gap in the knowledge that is needed addressed, and this is a very important question. I talk about myself when I examining master or student. My question always tell me what is that you have tried field, and one sentence, what is the most important work you have carried out in 1 year or 3 years waiting for the degree. So identification of problem is really very important and is the first and most step in the journey. So like discussed, you need to have a area, then you narrow it down, then you look into different issues, facilities, collaborate, and so on. And a problem, it can come from anywhere or you can say nowhere. You look into literature, you find it is not good. You may study it, then you say, oh, you will me, but I think I have an idea that better. Or you might have brainstorming session with your colleagues, then you will come up with the very important idea. And I remember talking to Professor Ades many times, and sometimes we have come up with the very good idea. One of them was come up with new, how you say, new bioplastics that are biodegradable, and also like Professor Ades' extensive experience how we can develop biology. I don't know. I'm not a medical guy, but sometimes biology that some bacteria he can develop that can eat those plastic. Sometimes I think talking to colleagues, you get new ideas, you come up with new hypotheses, and then obviously they become part of a masterpieces or PhD series because these are, how you say, heroes, in the sense that they will be realizing your idea. So So they will be converting your ideas to real.
Sorry to disturb you, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Please, can you just see? We are unable to comprehend anything, please. It's just buffering. We can't hear anything for the past 20 minutes or so.
Oh, so I'm not. I think the problem is the system because I have logged. It's not my account. So maybe the organizer have a look. Hello. Hello. Can anyone have the look into this issue?
Hello.
I guess I think I must log in to my account because my wife is always between. Let this.
Hello, Papa. Hello. Hello, Papa. When? Hello. I think Prof. Arvind is using two devices. He had login from two devices at the same time. So that's why voice problem is there.
So yes, sir. We are trying to resolve the issue. Please cooperate with us.
No, I'm just giving the solution for this. Prof. Arvind have done the login from two devices, mobile as well as desktop. If it will be shut down one device, then problem will be solved out.
Yes, sir. We are talking the same. We are resolving the issues. Please give us few minutes.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Oh, okay. So is it clear now?
Yes, sir, it is clear now. We are ready to go,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. So should I start from this one, or should I go back? Hello.
I think we should take concern from the participants also for this.
Okay. So you can ask whether I should start from beginning or should start from the current slide.
So we're getting yes, sir. They're saying go back, please.
Okay.
Better at
So
least two slides previous.
to start this topic selection, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. I will start from here.
Yes, sir.
So sorry again for this technical hitch up. I'm not sure what's going on, but coming back to this question on how to select a topic. So as we discussed earlier, one must know what is the research gap we are trying to fill, what you want to do, when you want to do this, and where you want to do your work. And obviously there must be a reason why. So there must be a reason for everything you want to do in the research, and there must be reasons for that. And for successfully completing that part of the research, we must do a lot of reading, because it is through reading only we get the ideas. And we talked about supervisor. So I personally believe that before choosing your topic, you must choose your supervisor. And before researching your supervisor, you should also research parallelly the topics, because your supervisor is the one who will enlighten you, who will provide light in the darkness. So you must research your supervisor's search interest, whether it matches with your search interest, or whether he or she is interested in your work, because research topics should be mutually selected. Even if there is a iota of doubt between either of research interest, then there will be problem at the later stage, especially when you are publishing or you want to finish your paper or thesis on time. Suppose a student is too much interested in a particular topic, say biomaterials, but supervisor has interest something in energy storage or so on, then obviously student will carry out the work, then supervisor may not look more into it. But when the time will come for finishing the topic, then there will obviously be some issues. So one must research his supervisor, because supervisor provides great thoughts, great direction, and obviously accomplishment of the work on time. And when choosing your search topic, then you should look into different problem, and each problem have a particular characteristic that must be taken care of. For example, someone working on biomaterials and he want to see the impact of the developed material on health, then he can consider different subtopic, magnitude, preventability, curability, and most important of them is the feasibility of the work, and then obviously cost effectiveness. Because the research you are carrying out, it should be of some importance to common public, or it should have some environmental impact. If I talk about Western world, here on every penny of public money spent, one must be answerable for that. So one must answer where you have spent the money. For example, even for publication, you might be seeing a lot of open access journal publications from Europe or US. The reason for that is, again, same public responsibility. Public always ask, where is our taxpayers' money that you are spending on research? So government should not spend that money on useless research, or that is not beneficial to the society. So cost effectiveness and applicability of the result is very important. And for this, we should work together with the stakeholders, starting from the industrial partners to end user. And research problem, as I said earlier, it must address the research gap, or what is the gap in the knowledge. And I guess this is the first and most important question when it comes about examination or evaluation. For example, whenever I am examiner for a master or PhD thesis, the first question I ask the student is, tell me what is the research gap in the field that you have tried to fill. And another question that is follow up on this one is, depending upon how the student answer, is, in one sentence, tell me the most important findings of your work and how it has impacted the society and science as a whole. So one must be really careful about what he is doing, how he is doing, how he or she is going to impact the overall field. And identification of research problem, it is very important and should be taken care in a very precise manner. So generally you choose a particular broad topic, then you narrow it down, and then you look into different pros and cons of that particular title or particular concise field you might be researching.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. Sir, kindly unmute yourself. You're not audible, sir. Sir, you're not audible.
Okay. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, yes, sir.
I think you should not admit anyone anymore now, because of that it's getting muted. So
Maybe, sir.
this is being controlled from your end, not mine.
Yeah, yes, sir. We are taking this into our mind.
So should I start again?
Yes, sir. Yes, please, sir.
Okay, please let me know if there are, again, I have to unmute or there are some issues.
Sure, sir. Sure.
So coming back to this brainstorming, I think is very important, because brainstorming, either if you are a student, you are talking to your friends or seniors or juniors, that also gives good ideas. And for academics, it's really very important. When we talk together, it always leads to new hypotheses or new research direction or a potential collaboration. This is what happened with me and Professor Ades. We were talking on different biomaterials. Then we came up with some new thoughts, how we can combine these two disciplines, biology and material science, and come up with the new direction. And it has led to some new hypotheses as well as possibly some research work. So if we have to summarize a research question, then from an investigator or supervisor perspective, we must make sure that we have a research question that should be very clear and specific. It must reflect your study, and obviously it should have no answer in literature. So whenever some master students comes to me, I always ask them to come up with the list of topics, and each topic should have at least one question for which there is no answer. And suppose I ask a student to come up after 1 week. If he does not come up, so at least you should have those questions ready, because it's sometimes very difficult for beginners, especially at undergrad and master level, to come up with those type of question. But at least you should give them a direction. Then most important about research is it must be original. Mean same work should not have been carried out earlier. And it is the responsibility of a researcher, both a supervisor as well as student, that the work they are proposing is really innovative. It is adding some value to the existing work, whether it is from scientific perspective or application perspective, or you are developing a new kit or a manufacturing process. So there should be some sort of originality to that work. Then most important is it should be feasible. Feasible mean in a particular time duration, right? If you are carrying out a master thesis, then obviously you should select a topic and its content in such a way that the work can be done in 6 months or 1 year, again depending upon your course. Then PhD, if I talk about Europe, you must make sure that the student completes the PhD in 3 years and maximum 4 years if there are some issues. And then most important is cost, because without funding or facilities or requirements, it won't be possible to carry out any research. So you must choose the problem in such a way that it is innovative, feasible, can be carried out in a particular time, and obviously you have all the resources to accomplish that work. And equipment and supplies, it is very important. You may have thousands of wonderful ideas that you think can change the world, but to realize those ideas into reality, you must have some basic facilities. So before starting any research, you must take care of the equipments or so-called facilities that are available in your lab or your institute, so that you don't play with someone's career. For example, I have moved to this new institute 6 months back, and we have wonderful facility for animal science or agriculture, but there are limited facilities in the biorefining and advanced material field I am working on. So I haven't taken any PhD student so far, because I know that even if I take the student, it may not be justice to the student. Obviously, I am losing some good ideas, some good paper that may come up during this reason, but I think most important is student's career. So we must always keep the student on first priority. And then administrative support. It is really very important when someone is carrying out research, because being research, we are always busy in thinking whether, although it is a 9 to 5 hour job, but I think researcher work 24/7 hours. So they really don't have much time to devote to administrative issues. So it is really very important if researcher gets support from higher authorities, whether they are academic or non-academic, or at senior manager role. So, and if someone gets good support from the senior staff, that keeps one motivating. So, I guess each institute, especially the higher authorities, starting from president, or how you can say, depending upon the country, or vice chancellor, so on level, they must provide good administrative support to the faculty so that they can effectively carry out the research. And then ethical issue is another real consideration when one want to carry out a research, especially related to biological sciences, or you can say medical field, because even carrying out a small experiment, there are lots of issues that must be addressed, and things become worse when that institute does not have some sort of that facilities, or no one have earlier worked in that direction. And I have been one of the sufferer of this. In one of the previous university I did work, we were carrying out some trials on development of adhesive, where we wanted to check its performance on some pig skin, but we had a hard time in getting ethical approval. And it was not university's fault as well, because no one earlier worked in that direction, especially in that particular lab where we were carrying out the experiment. So one must be really considerate of ethical issues. Luckily in that project we don't have any master or PhD student, we had a postdoc, so we addressed that issue. But for any research project at undergrad, master or PhD level, the supervisor must be considerate of ethical issues. And it's not only supervisor responsibility, but research students responsibility as well. So he should also be considerate of these issues, because these things are not under the control of supervisor. There are many people above him, many safety officer who tackle these issues. So he should not blame the supervisor that the work is being delayed because of him. And then, as I said, your problem must be realistic. It must be researchable. You cannot come up with a mind-blowing idea and you think it can be done in 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year. Depending upon your project, funding agency, need of the hour, one must be realistic what he can solve in a particular time. For example, if someone want to prove the existence of God, or someone want to disapprove, I think that is more of a like idiotic question, because it will obviously someone has done it earlier, or they can try to address this issue, right? But it takes hundreds of years, or you can say tens of years, to address this issue. So there are many problems that are not really good in scientific term. They might be good in some another term, whether it is religious or non-religious, but scientifically you must be very precise what you can deliver in a particular time. And another example can be something like everyone wants to go to heaven, right? But one must die for that. But no one wants to die, but everyone wants to go to heaven. So this side of problem, they are really very puzzling, and no one can really address them. So we should choose our topic very carefully so that it has a real impact, and obviously there should be value for money. And again, problem statement, it should be very precise, well thought of, and its implications should also be understood. And then you can have a different, you can do your statement in different way. You can write it in a different way depending upon your student or audience. The problem, it should be clearly stated, as well as the method of solving the problem. And these are really very important when you are in a multicultural environment. You have students from different cultures, different background, those who have studied in different language. With my limited experience, I can say that I have come across some students from another countries who were really brilliant. But initially, when I used to have conversation with them, it was even very difficult to understand the English. So I used to write those statement more on, how you say, written way, clearly state the problem, the way, and obviously with the passage of time, after 1 year, the students were really brilliant. They published good work. So mean your research in terms of writing, your research statement should also be very clear so that your student know what to do and what not to do. And last but not the least about research is your research problem must be current. You should try to address the current issues so that it adds value to human life, because whatever we do, we generally try to make the life more comfortable. We want to increase the longevity of life and so on. So you must try to address the current issues. For example, in this pandemic, there is significant research going on how to develop new vaccine or how to develop new material that are antimicrobial, especially antiviral. So we cannot know someone, if say someone is going back 60 years back and he started now working on penicillin, he wanted to have a next gen penicillin for antibiotic and so on, right? That is a useless research in the sense from value for money. So the research topic must be current, that you can see can solve the problem in next 5 or 10 years, or obviously addressing some of the future problems. So you should not look into the topic that are not really current. Then obviously, as I talked in the beginning of this presentation, it must be interesting. It must be interesting to the supervisor. It must be interesting to the PhD student, because when both are interested in the research topic, it will really lead to some fruitful results. And problem formulation, as we discussed, you must always have a reason why you are carrying out this research. What do you want from this at the end of your project? Why you want to do it? And then most importantly, how you want to do it. There are different ways to carry out a particular research. So you must be addressing all these questions when formulating the research question. And there is a wonderful book written by John Criswell about research design, and there have been different hypotheses like qualitative research question, and hypothesis, mixed methods. So depending upon your discipline, you can have access to these, how you say, theories or such qualitative descriptions, and you can really take more look into this. I won't go into more detail, but for writing qualitative research questions that are must, you must have 1 to 2 central questions. Obviously, the sub question arises when you carry out the experiment or do your further study, and there it can be sometime both. You must look into quantitative mean. When you start an experiment, you look into different parameters. Say, for example, Dr. Samarjit, he is developing some hydrogel. He want to look into effect of pH, time, temperature, pressure, and so on. That becomes more of like quantitative research hypothesis or quantitative research question, like what type of parameters you want to study in more detail. And then obviously, depending upon your discipline, there may be different approaches, comparative groups, the relate variables or descriptive response, especially in terms of humanity or more of like another studies. And while writing the hypothesis, one can follow different hypotheses. They may be null. Null mean generic. You want to do the work that has been usually done, then you can go into a particular direction, or a hypothesis that is always very challenging because you may or may not be successful. And then non-directional is just a hit and trial. Sometimes it works. Most of the time it has worked for me, and I guess it works for everyone if we try a lot of ways to address a problem. And then mixed methods, it's always a very, I think it is a very sensible approach because it takes advantages of all your research methods. And again, there are different way to write question and hypothesis into a mixed method. It depends upon your students, or simply you can say depending upon audiences. So you can prepare the question in the way where your student understand it in a more specific way. So it's more of choice of a supervisor how he frame them. And then once you have these things ready, you know the research topic, you know the research question, you know the way, what is the strategy for your experimental. So now you must go into literature, because there might be someone who might have already done that work, or similar work has already been published. In that case, you have lots of friends, and these days internet is the best friend, and obviously your libraries are very important source of knowledge. So once you are aware of what you are going to do, you must change your direction into literature, what you need to study. And literature has different meaning for different people, but for researcher, literature mean getting the knowledge through different sources, especially journals, books, conferences, thesis, especially you are a master or PhD student. So that gives you a detailed information about literature. And purpose of literature is very clear. You must be aware of the recent development in your field, because you cannot waste good 6 months, 3 months doing work in the lab that has already been reported. Obviously, I believe that hard work never goes unrewarded. You will always learn something, but you must deliver, right? Coming back to that value for money. So you must deliver in your master or PhD project. From that perspective, your literature review is very important, because that provides you new direction. It tells you that there is the research gap, this has not been done, and then identify priority research areas. That okay, there is so much thrust. If I talk about materials research, there is more thrust on sustainability, sustainable materials, how we can make use of bio-based material and stuff, how we can use solar energy, how we can make use of winds to generate electricity, how you can develop new bio-based material, and most importantly these days, how we can come up with new alternative to plastics, right? Once this pandemic will be over, you can see there will be billions of tons of plastic waste everywhere. So you must be aware of these type of development, so that you are in a right direction. And obviously you must regularly visit your library. You should always try to have a good relationship with your librarian, because they are a huge source of knowledge. They will provide you information how to search good journals, how to search in Scopus, how to search in Web of Science when you are a beginner, because today's research is almost significantly different when it was 20 years back or 30 years back, when there were limited resources of knowledge. We don't have such access to these journals, paper, theses, and so on. But now you are overloaded with lot of information. So you must be careful what to read, what not to read. And in this case, your librarian can be a key person who can advise you on a very good search. Then obviously when you will be writing your thesis, which type of software you use to, how you say, write your references. If I recall correctly, when I used to work until 2015, I never used a how you say, automatic referencing system. So we used to spend significant amount just in writing references in different styles. And then okay, obviously there were a lot of rejections, paper get rejected, then you again spend 2 day 3 day simply to change your general reference style and just addressing some minor comments of the reviewer or major. But one of the, I think, burden to me was how to how you say, rephrase or realign those references. And these days there are several free software as well as subscribed that you can use for referencing. So these things you will mainly learn from library. So you must visit library in nutshell, if I want to say, and you should read everything very carefully. Read abstract, your abstract and conclusion in a paper provide you more information, while the experimental section provide you the in-depth analysis. If you really want to replicate that experiment or you want to use that methodology in your work, and you must always make notes of these knowledge you learn from different papers. And an example I want just to give you, I have a PhD student who obviously comes from a non-English speaking country, and I was very surprised, or sometimes I used to be amazed how she always, whenever she used to come for weekly meeting, she will write everything in her notebook, and always her questions were written. And when she submitted her first paper, that was obviously a review article, and I was surprised but not shocked to see that her plagiarism, or you can say similarity index, was just 18%, well below the existing limit of 25%. It was very first case in my career that some student has written an excellent article, and that too in first attempt, just 18% plagiarism. So you can imagine that writing or noting down different content, different important points is really very important. So you must write down the point you come across, whether you are discussing with your friends or colleagues or anyone. So you must write those things, and you should always be focused on your particular topic the way you are writing. I am aware of time, so I will be a little bit quick. So your literature review, as I said, first you must list the sources, whether you are looking the papers from Web of Science or Scopus or Google. Then you look into particular papers, because as I said, there are tons of papers on a particular topic. So you must be aware of what you want to do. Then try to learn new things. Always try to write down and write. So there are main four components of literature review. First, you must have a problem. Then you look into literature survey, what people have done related to that work. Then you have a data evaluation. You must look into the literature very critically, because this is the most important question whenever you are publishing your literature, whether it is in the form of thesis or review article. The reviewer will surely chase you, because you cannot simply list 100 of articles that saying that, okay, Vijay has done this development, Ades has developed a new biomedical system, just picking stuff from his paper. You must critically evaluate that. What do you think was the most notable in that work, and what are the limitations of that work, how it can be implemented. So when you are writing any literature review, you must be critical about that work. And it can be, again, if you want to really take it into more a graphical clarity, you must find it, then manage it, use it in a very appropriate manner, then obviously review it in a critical manner to come up with an excellent article. And as I said, there are different sources of literature, and journal articles are the most important and most updated one, because everyone wants to publish the research as soon as they have good results. So you must always look into journal articles. And even when you are looking into journal articles, you must be aware of the best journals in your field, where you think the top researcher in your field. There might be 50 or 100 groups in the world who are doing very good research in that direction, and you should see in which journal those researchers are publishing. Keep eye on those particular journals, so that you have an up-to-date knowledge of what's going on your field. and there can be different type of journal. There are some referred, non-referred. I always say that referred are those journal that are indexed in Scopus, Web of Science. They are the best. And I understand you will have a separate lecture on different type of journals or how to publish. So I won't go into more detail, but journals are the first and foremost source of experimental knowledge that comes into. Then books are obviously also very important, but books are less up to date. It takes at least couple of years to publish these books, and there are always some hurdles in publishing. So you must rely on book for in-depth knowledge rather than for up-to-date knowledge. And conference proceeding, they are really key source, because in conferences mostly researchers present their latest results, and you can really have up-to-date knowledge from conference proceeding. Obviously the issue is that no one presents their detailed results until they go into journal, but obviously if you are smart enough, you can get the idea what people are doing and what is the key research direction people are focusing now. And another important source of literature are government or corporate reports, and these reports are really important for academics like us who are writing several proposals. And when you propose a hypothesis or a solution for a particular problem, when you address these reports, it really helps. For example, I'm writing a proposal on how to address this plastic issue in COVID, post-COVID-19 era, right? Then I will always be looking into different government reports from EU or UK, so that I can make a case that, okay, this is the problem, and government has obviously admitted it in its report that plastic waste is going to be a big problem, and through my research I can try a part of this. So these government reports you should also keep an eye, so that when writing a good proposal you must have some evidence, so that you can justify the value for money. And these thesis and dissertation, to me personally, I think they are very important source of detailed knowledge. Obviously, one of the problem is, like, most of the theses are not available online, or they are not published, or they are always having some classified work. But whenever you have any access to thesis, that is really very important. Try to look into the theses that are very relevant to your field, because that always keep you in a right path, give you a way that, okay, I can write my thesis in this way. And it has really helped during my PhD as well. And I always encourage my PhD and master student to look into previous theses. Sometimes they are not online, but you can always find theses in libraries where they are in hard print. So you must always go into library, look into thesis, try to learn how to write good literature review, how to write a good thesis, because they are complementary to each other. So if you know how to write a thesis, you can write good paper, or if you can write good paper, obviously you can write good thesis. So from students perspective, they should always try to look into thesis and dissertation. And then coming back to sources of literature, as I said, there are numerous sources of knowledge these days, starting from a lot of things. And obviously most of the sources sometimes are not reliable, because if you see, there are a lot of how you say these I'm not getting the right word, but those journals that are not indexed, and unfortunately India is hub to those type of predatory journals. Yeah, so some of the time the information is not really good, you don't know, quality of the work is also not really good. So you must try to avoid those type of predatory journals, and try to depend upon actual sources, like I said, some particular journals in your field. And then obviously you should try to follow right people. And when you are looking into more detail into a particular paper or knowledge or something, you must consider 4 different points. First is provenance. What are the author's credentials? As I said, you must always try to follow top 50 or top 100 research groups in your field. that are mainly based in overseas, also within particular country. Like if we are talking about India, we should also see who are doing best work in India. You should try to follow them. Then you should be having real objectivity in your work. You should be convinced with the work that okay, it's really good or it's not, because few years back I have come across some work that when we tried to replicate, we were not able to reproduce these words. So I don't know, that might be experimental condition or some other reason for which this is not the right platform to discuss. But you must also be convinced that okay, this is the author home research I have been able to reproduce. You should not simply take a nature or science paper or chemical reviews or so on any top tier journal and just blindly follow anyone's work. So you should also be convinced that okay, this is good work and I can replicate this. And then obviously there should always be value. And when you want to write literature, right, like I discussed in the beginning of this presentation, that once you are done, you must communicate your results to a wider audience. So writing is most important part of that. And in a literature, there is always an introduction, the body, the conclusion. You will learn more about in another lecture. So just to brief, in your introduction, you should first identify the problem. So one of the comment I give, or I also receive some time, that oh, the introduction is not very exhaustive, or there is no cohesiveness, there is no link to rest of the work. So one must be, I think, from my limited experience, having published more than 200 papers and several books, I understand that introduction is really very important. It sets the scene. It is something like trailer of a movie. If trailer is good, people are always very energetic or enthusiastic towards seeing the movie. To similar is the, how you say, tendency in science. If your abstract and introduction is really very good, it makes the story. So obviously the reviewer, who are always anonymous, they are more interested in going through your work in a more comprehensive way. Then obviously they also always provide very good feedback to your work. And my personal experience is like however good paper me or my group or my collaborator writes, but whenever it comes after review, the quality is always improved. So that's the way, like you should write introduction in a very beautiful way. And then body, like I said, if it is a literature review, you should try to critically evaluate everything, so that the one who is looking into your work, he knows that this candidate, this professor or student has really looked into the literature and he has find the shortcomings or advantage of particular work. And then obviously you should summarize it in a very good way and also put your future perspective in the conclusion, because generally in conclusion sometimes we get the comment, oh, you should write future perspective, or this is something an examiner wants to look like how you conclude or how you summarize your findings from